Welcome to the Better Agent Podcast. If you're a real estate agent that's looking to grow your business, then you're in the right place. Whether you want to go from 5 to 10 transactions a year, or 10 to 50 transactions per year, or more, well, then this show is for you. I'm Josh Lavik, your host for the Better Agent Podcast, and in each episode, we'll bring you the tools, tips, and tricks directly from myself and some of the best leaders within the real estate industry. We have one goal in mind, and that's to boost your production and elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in and start creating a better real estate experience together. Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. On our show, we're talking about growth in your real estate business. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and here sharing some of my thoughts and insight from the last 20 years that I've been in the real estate business, and always bringing on wonderful guests for other people that can share some of their wisdom and insight with our listeners as well. And so today I've got an awesome guest, somebody I've known for many, many years as well. Actually, I've known this person since before she got into the real estate business. And so I'm excited to have her on the show, and she's just been tremendously successful. And I'm sure every time I talk to her, I get a little bit smarter, I feel like, just from our conversation. And I'm sure that our listeners will hopefully get some value out of this discussion today. So I've got Lori Schilling with me here today and joining me for our discussion about how to improve your real estate business. So wherever you're at, if it's 10 transactions, looking to maybe go to 20 or 20 to 30 or more, or whatever it might be for you, hopefully we can bring some insight for you. So Lori, why don't you give our listeners a little bit of intro on your background and kind of your real estate journey so far and what led you here?
Wow. Well, thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm going to drive you around and just have you introduce me from now on. I think that's amazing. I appreciate that. So yes, Lori Schilling. I think next month it will be my 10-year anniversary. So I can't believe how fast the time has gone. It's been a wild journey. I started my life in the spa and salon business. As you know, I owned a spa and salon for 20 years. I started that when I was, I think, like 12. So the math probably adds up.
I think that seems right. You must have been.
I know. I mean, right?
Yeah.
So I sold that in 2014 and bought some real estate with my sales. I knew that having been an entrepreneur and a business owner my entire life, I had no 401k. I had no, contribution. I had no pension. I had nothing. I just had me. And I knew that in order for me to be able to be successful in life, I had to be able to have some sort of continuous residual income coming in month after month from the sale of my business, which really was my greatest all-time asset. I ended up buying some apartments, which was a super good decision. I aligned with a reputable partner that had already been invested in several hundred units, and they invited me to come along for the journey, and that has forever changed my life. I took a small stipend, and I ended up being a 1/5 investor in a 100-unit apartment building.
Wow.
And then shortly thereafter, we got invited to buy another 100-unit building. And I invested a little bit more. Now I had some buy-in and I felt comfortable. And they asked me if I would consider being a property manager. And I was like, well, I'm not working. I could use a little extra money. They said, we'll give you an apartment. You can live here, basically included in your salary. You can manage these 100 apartments and you can still live your best life. So I said yes. And I had to get my real estate license in order to manage that many multifamily apartments. And as people
200 apartments, 200 units. I mean, that's a significant amount.
100, but still, It's still a lot. Yeah.
I have a 2-unit apartment, just it's, 2, not 100. And then I feel like that's enough. It doesn't take up too much time, but I can manage it.
You can. I mean, and you've got kids, you got, all the different things. So that's how I got my license, right? I didn't go out searching for it because I wanted to be a realtor. I needed it to be a property manager. And then shortly thereafter, my tenants were leaving and I would be like, well, why are you leaving? I thought you were happy. Well, we were happy, Lori, but we want to buy a house. Like, we want to make an investment in our future for our families. Okay, well, that makes sense. So I was like, shoot, I should be helping these people buy these houses. Like, I definitely could be good at this job. I'm good at sales. I have a lot of friends in the industry, yourself included, that I watched grow over the years. And I thought this could be a really good opportunity for me. And I don't know if you remember, but I interviewed a lot of you, right? Like I was like, do you want a
Sure.
partner? Do you want to add to your team? And all of these different realtors, because I knew if I was going to be good at this and I was going to totally change my career, because everyone knew me as Lori Heffernan from the spa and salon, right?
Yeah.
And so if
Well,
I
you had
was
already
going
built
to,
and sold a super successful business. So I think that's a interesting point that we should pause for, is like, if there's anybody listening that's out there that maybe they're already running a different business and they're maybe just either feeling burned out or feeling like it's at the end, or maybe they might want to sell it or something like that. Like that could be a good pivot potentially for those types of people to get into the industry, because you already had a ton of experience in growing a business and building it up to a certain point. You already had developed the skills, the habits, what was needed, what is needed in this entrepreneurial endeavor. So if there's entrepreneurs out there that are listening that maybe they're in a different business, but maybe looking to maybe get into real estate, this could be a good pivot point if that's for them. I think
right,
that because you brought all of those same skills. Yeah, you knew me from real estate. You knew a ton of other realtors. Of course, you interviewed them all. I mean, why wouldn't you? You knew them all. It's just a conversation, and you're talking to them about
right.
what's different and what's good and what's interesting. But I think the other interesting part of your story is, yeah, you sold the business, but you made a decision that not a lot of people do, right? You chose to invest into real estate, right? And
Right.
there's a lot of people that are realtors that don't invest in real estate, right? Like they own their own home maybe and just do open houses on Sundays, but they don't actually own much real estate themselves. I mean, I own, like I said, just a 2-unit. I don't own that much real estate. I would like to own more, and I've done some flips over the years and things like that. But, I think there's certainly something to be said about having that ownership and the investment piece and having that be a part of your retirement plan, investment plan, right? It can be like a 401k pension type of thing if you
Right.
allow it and seek it out. So that's an interesting point.
Absolutely. And that has helped me be a better agent for other buyers that are looking to buy multifamily, a duplex, a 4-unit, and bigger properties, because I do it myself. And so I think the best way to help someone else is to have already gone down that path yourself. And that's been a good time. So I started at Keller Williams, same as you, right? I did
No,
bold.
I was at another independent firm for about 5 years,
Oh,
but then switched to Keller Williams. I was with
oh,
Keller Williams for 9 years, and then we moved our team about 6 years ago over to EXP, where we're at now. But yeah, Keller Williams, it was a great firm, and I had a lot of great experiences there. Met a lot of great people, learned a lot, and grew my business
right.
through that process too. So they definitely have a lot of good resources for sure.
I agree. And I think the bold class that I took really launched my career, because I had no experience in real estate. I knew that I was good at talking to people. I knew that I was good at sales, but I had never really sold something like this, right? I mean, a house normally is the biggest investment someone's going to make. And I'm really grateful for my bold training. I tell all new realtors they should still go sign up for that, because I think it really helped propel my success. I did shortly thereafter end up moving and landed at EXP as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
go back to that bold training, because I think there's probably something in that training, or whether it's that training or another training. What is it about that you took away that you think really helped you and really propelled you? Is there 2 or 3 kind of key things that you learned in that you think were pivotal, especially from the beginning, right, of launching you to, into momentum and sales and action?
it's a good question. I think if
And I
I
caught you off
had
guard,
to,
so if you want to think
no,
about it a
that's
minute,
okay.
maybe I'll give my answer first, if that will help you.
Well, if I talk off the cuff, I think that the number one thing was success leads clues, right? And so having a system in place for success as an agent, they give you, here's your step by step. This is how many calls you're going to make. This is how many listing presentations you're going to make. This is how many doors you're going to knock on. This is how, many open houses you're going to hold. And because I was new, I just thought that's what everybody did. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, this is what I have to do to be a real estate agent. And so
Yep.
I just went out and did it. And that really was the number one takeaway. I also think my second biggest thing that I attribute my success to in anything is my relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
so through that bold class, I met a lot of other agents, and I met a lot of lenders and title company and people that I'm still friends with to this day from my class. that I know that if I call them or I write an offer or something, they're going to pick up my phone, they're going to, respond to me, and they're going to help me, and we're going to work together as a team. And those have always been the two things that I think have really helped me, is the relationships I've made and the systems that I've created.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah. I mean, I went through the same course many times and taken other courses. And I do think that's a great takeaway, right? Success does leave clues. And that's why, well, you and I have continued to talk multiple times over the years. And that's why I continue to network and mastermind and talk with other realtors, even at EXP and other firms and that kind of thing, because I believe in that concept as well, that the more I can look at the clues of what's happening or what's working with other people, then I can draw some of that into my own life and my own business and incorporate some of those habits and success principles into helping myself be successful. I think that's a huge piece. Relationships are important for sure. Yeah. The other thing that came to me in my mind too is, well, probably especially from my time at Keller Williams, was just the idea of building a database, and Gary Keller talks about it in his MREA book, right? About, the successful businesses or successful real estate realtors, pretty much they are good at building a database, but that database is really built on those relationships, right? It's taking those people that and doing something with it and building and nurturing that relationship, staying in touch with, making those calls, making those reach outs, getting in front of those people, just having those conversations, because so many times that's when the conversion happens. And it's not going to happen, immediately the first time maybe, but you talk to enough people and you stay in relationship and you continue to talk to those people, at some point, real estate may come up as a topic of conversation. And then when they're ready, boom, they'll think of you.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, so 10 years you've been doing this. I'm sure you've encountered a few challenges at some point along the way. What would you say, maybe if there were some challenges that you were encountering, what do you think were some of those? And then what do you think helped you kind of get through that and kind of keep going?
There's no challenges in real estate, Josh. What are you talking about?
I know. You've never had a low appraisal or an inspection blow up or cancellation of mutual release, anything like that?
Oh, man. I'm going to say, I don't know that it's a challenge, but it keeps me on my toes. Real estate is always changing. And, I came in at a good time. I pretty much, the first majority of my career, we had fairly low interest rates. And I think the things that always rock me a little bit is the unknown, right? I like knowing what's going to happen. I like being prepared. I like having a system in place. I like things being organized. And then all of a sudden we had COVID. And, there was a moment when I was like, oh my gosh, I might not even be able to work, right? They were deciding if we were essential.
Right.
And that's a scary thing. And so that was a challenge, but we pivoted and we figured it out, and we, put on our booties and put on our gloves and learned how to do video tours. And I think that I have done a really good job of thinking outside the box and just being creative. And there's no other option for me but to move forward. But that derails you, or me at least, when there's something drastic like that. Then we had, the big shift in interest rates, and then the big shift in the election, and all these shifts that keep happening. And everyone's like, what's going to happen to real estate? Oh, buyer agents don't get paid anymore. What's going to happen? Those kind of things. I feel like sometimes I'm on a constant roller coaster of like, what's going to happen next? And that is even outside of all of the transactions. I just finally
put your hands up and enjoy the ride here.
I know. You can what did someone say? I heard Zig Ziglar, I think, was the one that said, excitement and fear are the same thing. You just have to decide what choice you're making. And so
excitement and fear are the same thing. You just need to decide which choice you want it to be. Okay.
Right. So, right. Are you scared? Because actually that might be excitement if you just change your mind. Yeah. And I sometimes am scared, but I'm like, nope, this is exciting. And it normally ends up working out. I think my advice to a new agent, if somebody was looking to be a realtor, is you have to jump in with both feet. You have to burn the ships. You have to you have to have no other option but to be successful.
Sure.
And that is really a big difference. I've seen you do that. I've seen all of the other successful agents. They don't have 3 other jobs to fall back on, right?
No,
Like they are real estate agents. This is what they do. They will be successful.
totally.
And people sometimes say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky." And I'm like, "No, there's no luck about
No,
it.
you
Like
just decided. You know,
nobody
that's
gifted me a
I
brokerage."
remember. Well, so you've seen my Prius, right? And it's all branded and stuff. I remember years ago deciding if I was going to get my car wrapped or whatever with our branding and our business. And it was precisely the reason I did it was exactly what you're talking about, right? It was because I just decided that I wanted to be a top agent. I wanted it to be known. I wanted it to be known that this is what I do. This is the only thing I do. And this is where we're at. And so I think to me, it was like a constant reminder of just saying, this is what I'm doing. Right. And I'm
Yeah.
talking about real estate all the day, every day with whoever. And to me, it was almost a no brainer. But I remember, I've talked to many people over the years. They're like, oh, I could never do that with my car. I don't, I drive too crazy or something like that, and okay, well, you can decide, right? Decide to or decide not to, or, but what are you doing to jump in with both feet, right? I was talking to somebody else who had a similar comment, right? It was like the burn the boats mentality, right? Like you need to kind of just jump in with both feet and go after it and decide that this is what you're going to do and 100%. And I think you've done that too, right? And I think I remember even when you started, because you just sold the spa and you're like, well, I don't know if I want to work too hard. I just sold the spa and I'm just kind of checking things out. I don't know. But then I think real estate, it kind of, for the people that are good at it, that do well, I think it's like a bug or it's like an itch, right? You get a little bit of excitement from it and a little bit of thrill. Just part of it is the variety, I think. And it is always changing and every transaction is different. Every property is different. Everything's a little bit unique, but it can be an exciting kind of roller coaster ride along the way, I think, for sure.
That's 100% for sure.
Yeah, right on. So, what I'm curious about, and I don't know if this is the right conversation to have now or not, but I guess I'm curious about, because a lot of agents at a lot of different brokerages, and you've even been at a couple different brokerages, right? You were at EXP as well for a time. And I don't know, I think sometimes I'm curious what you would say to maybe an agent out there that maybe they've been at the same brokerage, or maybe they're thinking about exploring. Do they know when is the right time to make that switch? If not, or I don't know how deep in the weeds you want to get into that. I don't want it to be all about that, but I don't know. I'm curious about it because I think your perspective is interesting just based on the different places you have been.
Yeah, good. That is a good question. Others have asked me that question before. I have realtors call me all the time and they're like, oh, we're considering moving. What do you think? What would you do? I don't know. I think everybody has a different path that they're taking. The path for me is, and you've heard me say it now 3 times, right? I like systems.
Yeah.
I also don't want to do something that I'm not good at. And I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. So when I was at EXP and I was on a team, I loved the systems that they had in place. They had a transaction coordinator, they had an inside salesperson, they had a stager, they had a, photographer. They had everything there that could help my buyers and sellers be successful in an ever-changing market. So I knew that was important. So for me, I wouldn't be able to just be an independent agent with EXP because I would not have access to all of those systems. I'd have to do everything individually. I'd have to hire all of the people, and I chose not to do that. So when I was considering a new home after being a part of a team, because I wanted a little bit of a better split, I wanted to be able to keep more of the money that I was working so hard to have. I knew
we're not going to talk specifics on splits, right? So just
no, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that I could find a brokerage and a home that provided those systems for me. So that's where I landed. Like I'm at Sprinkman Real Estate now, and I have all of those systems. I feel like the vibe there at that brokerage really meets my brand and my personality. And so that's what I think is important. And that's what I tell other agents is find a place where you can be you. And maybe you're just super independent and you're good at all the things. You're good at staging. You're good at, pictures. Like maybe, but like I'm not. Right. I am really good at selling. And that is all I should do. And so that's why I need to be in a place that provides all of those systems. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, I think that's great. I think what I hear in a lot of that is really knowing yourself and just being honest with yourself, right? Knowing what are your strengths and just leaning into that a little bit, right? Like if you know that you don't want to spend the time building the systems and the tools and doing the thing, like go to a place, whether it's a team or a brokerage or whatever it is that has what you need, right? For
Right.
the, if it's those things that, like, as an agent, that allows you to spend majority of your time just doing what you love to do, which is selling. You're in front of clients, you're talking to people, you're on the phone, you're having conversations with people. And then most of those other systems and tools and administrative things are, most of it is kind of in place or taken care of in a lot of ways. So, and that could be the right place for, some agents are great at just living in that role, in the systems role, or in that inside sales agent role, or just within those roles. So you don't always have to just be the sales agent. I think I've noticed that was one thing for sure that I noticed too when I made the switch from, I started at a smaller independent brokerage, but when I moved to KW was definitely that more team-based structure that had different people in different roles in different places. And so I think that that's part of the reason, I think, why some of the more successful agents and teams, right, they've got all of those things lined up and those systems lined up. So I think that's an important piece.
And if you don't know yourself and you don't know what systems you want, then you should go be a part of a team, or you should have a leader like yourself or somebody that wants to show those things and educate and lead so that you can learn the path that's best for you. And I'm very grateful for the team that I was on because it filled my database, right?
Mhm.
I got a lot of opportunity to have leads and to train with other agents and to do all of those things so that I could become the agent and person that I am now.
Totally. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're in a shifting market, right? We've noticed a decline in sales over the last couple of years, especially from our lower interest rate heyday during COVID. What do you think is going to happen here in the next couple of years? I mean, how do you see the market shaking out? I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and I'm happy to give my own as well. But I think what I've noticed, at least in our market locally, is just I think our prices are starting to level out and plateau. And, I'm interested in what I think is I'm noticing, I think that it's going to bring more value to the realtor that is going to be able to show up and bring better insight to what's happening in the market and maybe where that price point should be on a particular property and bringing that pricing discussion. So I don't know. That's my initial glimpse or insight into what I think is going to happen. But I think we'll continue to see prices kind of flatten over the next couple of years unless we have interest rates drop way down. But I think the market is a good one in the sense that, the agents that are both feet in, as you say, will definitely succeed as they always have. But I think it's going to be even more so just because I think more insight is going to be needed to have some of those harder conversations maybe about pricing. So,
Yeah. Well, it is, and in my opinion, always has been about setting the right expectations with your clients. I think that when I go into a listing appointment now, I'm really honest with the fact that we are not where we were a year ago, where you should expect 60 showings and 15 offers and $100,000 over asking and waiving every contingency, right? Like
yeah,
we might get there. And I've had a few transactions that have gotten there just recently,
sure.
but it is not every time expectation.
Totally.
So it's become even more important to have somebody that really understands comparables and really knows how to price the home fairly so that people see value. And then this is also where it becomes so much more important to, and take advantage of good staging or maybe bringing some furniture in. Like you can't just slap a house up on the MLS anymore and expect it to get 10 offers in 48 hours. And so now it's real estate. I've been telling people that, like,
Yeah,
this is really real estate. We have to
this is what
sell
it's all
your home.
about.
And it becomes even more important to have an agent that understands and, can do all the marketing, can do all the extras for you, in my opinion. I don't know about interest. I'm not as scared about it as some people are. I mean, like if we look back at the last 100 years, the average interest rate has been about 7%, right?
Sure.
So the fact that we're, in the sixes, I just don't think that Maybe we'll dip into the fives over the
Yeah.
next year,
Who
but
knows?
like we're probably never going to go back to seeing threes or even sub three. Like that's
Yeah.
not happening.
Nope.
And people are always going to need to buy. They're always going to be somebody passes away, somebody that gets divorced, somebody that has a baby. Like those things are always going to happen. So people will always need a home. So we just have to make sure that we're showcasing the homes that we're selling to the best light so that those people that are out there choose us. And that's really what I've been working to help educate my sellers and my buyers on, to make sure that we still keep the process going. And honestly, actually ahead of
Yeah.
where I was last year at this time.
Nice.
So I do think that things keep moving, but my
Yep.
conversations are very different.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think I've experienced exactly that. You know, people that need to move, right? I have a client we just closed. He moved here from Louisiana, moved here for a new job opportunity. You know, people get new jobs, they get divorced,
Yep.
things happen,
Yep.
life goes on. They still need to move and still need to make something happen, regardless of the interest rates. I think that's 100% spot on. Yeah. So I think something you said there that is perfect, and it's something I couldn't agree with more, is setting the right expectations, right? And I think it can go with your clients. And, you know, when you first sign on with a client, sharing with them what to expect, what's going to happen next. It's really always having that conversation of what happens next, right? Knowing the process inside and out of buying or selling, I think, you know, helps you set those right expectations. Let's maybe go a little deeper though. How do you set the right expectations so that you can have good, high quality, like work-life balance? I know that was something you and I had talked briefly about, is like, you know, sometimes this can be a hard business, right? It can be exciting, but sometimes you can work 24/7 in some ways. How do you have that work-life balance and set expectations with your clients? You know, I know for me, I've always tried to take at least one day off a week, period. I don't care what's happening, but like, you know, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday or a day midweek or whatever it is, but you need it. Even God rested on the seventh day. So we got to take at least one day to yourself, I believe. So, but I think part of what we do also, and part of why we have a team-based structure, is that we have other people that can rely on, you know, my clients. If I'm out of town or something like that, we have other people on our team that can kind of step in. What do you think for you? What are some key things that you would say about, you know, maintaining that work-life balance so that you're not working too much and you can still have a good quality of life? How do you do that?
Oh, I have opinions. Speaking of work-life balance, I have to leave in a couple of minutes to go show a property here. But
Hey.
I think that I don't actually believe that there's such a thing as work-life balance. I just don't.
Oh,
It's not like you can shut off your work brain and then go in your life brain and then come back. And, you know, I always have a lot that I'm juggling in my brain. And even if I'm doing family time or friend time or something, I a lot of times will still respond to a text or take a phone call or something, especially if it's a pressing matter, if we're in the middle of negotiating an offer. What
mm-hmm.
I have done though, I don't get a full day off normally. I mean, sometimes I do, right? It just depends on the market and the time
Sure.
and what happens. I don't feel as passionate about having a whole day off as you do, but I need 1 hour of Lori time every single day.
Yeah.
And where I don't necessarily have my phone, I'm doing something that's fun. Like the thing that fills my cup is having a good time.
Sure.
So listening to some live music, going out on the boat, going for a walk, you know, a hot yoga class. I need an hour a day of Lori time where I don't
Totally.
have 10,000 things coming at me and people asking for help and things.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I now am a little more choosy on who I work with. I
Ah,
don't want to work with people that are not kind. You know, I am really cautious. And I tell people that in my appointments now. I was like, if we can't have fun and be respectful and enjoy each other, this is probably not going to work. And I think that setting that expectation has changed my whole life, because then my work is also fun, which is
yeah.
part of my life. You
I
know?
love that. I love that so much. I think it goes back to what you just said, what we said before, right? It's about setting the right expectations. And I think even too, for me, like say it is a day off, but I've had instances too where, okay, I'm in the middle of a transaction, we're countering back and forth. I'm probably going to have to deal with this, right? So
Right,
maybe it's setting the expectation with my wife. Hey, honey, just so
right.
you know, I'm going to have to deal with
That's right.
this, right? Because
Right.
you know, she gets kind of frustrated too
Of
if I don't
course.
take at least that day off, right? Or if I'm doing family things, it's like what's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think setting those right expectations, dealing with good clients that are nice. What a simple
Yes.
concept. I love that.
Ta-da. Let's do it.
Boom.
Aw.
Cool. Well, we've been chatting for quite a while. I know you've got an appointment coming up, but is there anything else that you would want to say to our listeners today that we haven't already talked about that's on your mind?
I think real estate is a great place to live. I think, if you love people, if you want and are passionate about being in cooperation with your competition and you want to be able to deliver to people the best thing that can ever happen to them, you should come and join us. And the more the merrier.
Heck yeah. There we go. Come on in. The water's warm.
Well, it's good. Well, thanks, Josh. I really appreciate your time today. And it's been awesome. Keep kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah, you too, Lori. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing some value with our listeners, and really appreciate talking to you as always. And again, you're listening to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, with Lori Schilling today. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And if you're interested in hearing more, tune in next time and we'll have some more insight from the next person we talk to. So I hope you're having a great day, everyone. And that's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.